So we turn now to jury selection, which is set to begin today in the federal civil rights trial of three former police officers who were with their colleague Derek Chauvin during the arrest that led to George Floyd's murder in May of 2020. The three officers, Alexander Kung, Thomas Lane, and Tu Tao, are accused of willfully depriving George Floyd of his constitutional rights without due process. Kung knelt on Floyd's back, and Lane held down Floyd's legs. Tao kept bystanders away. George Floyd was murdered by former officer Derek Chauvin after Chauvin placed his knee on Floyd's neck and pinned him to the street for 9.5 minutes as he was face down, gasping for air. ABC News' Alex Perez joins us now with the latest on this federal civil rights charges. So, Alex, what are the charges that the three officers are facing? What sentences could they carry?
Well, Terry, this federal trial is about what these officers didn't do that day. They're accused of depriving George Floyd of his civil rights by failing to offer medical attention to him when he clearly needed medical attention. And in terms of King and Tao, they are accused of failing to stop Chauvin from using excessive force. Now, as far as sentencing in a federal trial like this one that resulted in death, Terry, it varies widely. They could face anywhere from the death penalty up to a life sentence, but legal experts expect they will face something less severe than that, Terry.
If convicted. So let me ask you on the difference between the trial that the whole country watched, that you covered, the trial of Derek Chauvin. What's the difference from the charges these officers are facing in court?
Well, those charges we just talked about, Terry, were the federal charges. The other case, those are the state criminal charges, and that's what the officers, as opposed to the federal case where it's what they didn't do, it's what they're accused of doing, and that is aiding and abetting manslaughter, aiding and abetting murder. Essentially, prosecutors in the state case are saying they were accomplices to Derek Chauvin. Now, that state case, Terry, was supposed to begin on the heels of this federal trial on March 7th, but the judge just yesterday approved delaying the start of that state trial. So now it's set to begin on June 13th, Terry. But some legal experts who have been reviewing all of this say, depending on what happens on this federal trial, there's an opportunity perhaps for them to make some sort of plea deal when it comes to this state trial. So that tentative date now is June 13th, but we will have to see how the federal trial unfolds to see what happens for the state trial, Terry.
And Alex, it's pretty rare that you see police officers convicted of on-duty killings. American juries tend to give police officers a lot of slack. It's a hard job. It's a dangerous job. And they give them the benefit of the doubt. That's what the history shows. But in the George Floyd case, the conviction of Derek Chauvin, it does raise the question, is that changing, do you think?
Well, you know, Terry, it's hard to say. Even in jury selection in the federal trial today, we heard some jurors were dismissed because they said they believe officers have a hard job and it's really hard to question their actions. So you're right. That is something that the American public, juries have been facing for a very long time. But in the last couple of years, as we know, the George Floyd murder case was very different. There were protests around the world, and it ignited that racial reckoning process that is still ongoing here in this country. And there, of course, have been, over the last couple of years, more officers convicted for their actions while on duty. But if you talk to activists who have been fighting for this action for years, decades, Terry, they will tell you it may be happening slightly more often, but not often enough, and they still see a lot of cases where they don't believe justice was served. Another thing that we're seeing, Terry, happening at police departments across the country is that there are moves to hold officers more accountable within the department, not only what one officer did, but hold his fellow officers for not intervening or trying to call to their attention something that they're doing that may be possibly wrong or illegal. So there has been some change, Terry, but really, if you talk to people who have been on the front lines of this, they say it's not happening quickly enough.
Absolutely. Alex Perez, thanks very much for that report.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.